Bible Stories 11. Job's Tragedy. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee, for thou, Lord, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. See Psalm 9, verse 10. Job lived in Uz with his wife, 7 sons, and 3 daughters. He was a very rich man, the richest man in the East, and owned thousands of sheep, camels, oxen, and donkeys, and had many servants working for him. But what was most important to him was not his wealth, but God. He loved God above everything else and worshipped Him faithfully. Job carefully taught his children about God. Every time his children had a party, Job would wake up early and offer a sacrifice for each of them. He thought, I will do this in case any of them have sinned against God. He loved his family and cared for them constantly. One day, up in heaven, there was a special meeting. The children of God from heaven and from other worlds came to see God, and Satan was among them. Where have you been? God asked him. I've been roaming the earth, answered Satan. He enjoyed pointing out all the sinful acts he saw people do as he roamed the earth, and how people constantly broke God's law. God pointed out to him, Have you seen my servant Job? There is no one like him on earth. He is righteous and avoids evil, and he obeys me. Satan scoffed. Well, it's no wonder he follows you. You have built the edge of protection around him and his home. You've blessed everything he does, and he's become very rich. I'm sure that if you take that away, he will curse you and reject you. Did Job really only love God because he was rich? Would Job really be angry with God if he lost everything he had? All of those who were listening to this conversation were asking themselves these questions. They wondered if it was possible for human beings to trust God no matter what happened to them. God would have to allow Satan to test Job so that all could see what Job would do. Because God was close with Job, God believed that Job would understand eventually that his trial would be for the good of the whole universe. God replied to Satan, Very well, everything that Job has is in your power, but you may not touch Job himself. As soon as God gave his permission, Satan began his work of destruction. One terrible day, Job received 4 messengers, one after the other. The first one said, Sir, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys were eating nearby, and the Sabaeans came and killed all the servants with swords and took the animals away. I am the only servant who escaped to tell you. This servant hadn't even finished speaking when another servant arrived and said, Sir, fire of God fell from heaven and burned the sheep and the servants. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. Had this fire really been from God? No, of course not. The servant thought it was from God, but it was actually Satan who was causing all this destruction. While he was still speaking, another servant came and said, Sir, 3 bands of Chaldeans came and took all the camels. They also killed the servants with swords. I am the only one who escaped to tell you. Before he finished speaking, a fourth servant arrived with terrible news. Sir, your sons and daughters were having a party at your oldest son's house. Suddenly, a strong wind came from the desert and blew the house down. Everyone was killed except me. I'm the only one who escaped to tell you. Job was heartbroken. He did what people in those days did when they were full of sorrow. He ripped his clothing and shaved his head. Then he fell upon the ground and worshipped God. Everyone around him was amazed when he said, I was born with nothing, and I will die with nothing. The Lord gave, and the Lord took away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In spite of his deep sadness, he still trusted God and refused to be angry with him for what had happened. The God's heavenly children had another meeting. Satan was there again. When he told God that he had been roaming the earth again, God said, Are you still set in your mind against Job? Even though you moved me to ruin him by withdrawing my protection from him for no reason, he still hasn't sinned against me. Satan was not happy about this, so he argued back. Well, you haven't touched him yet. If you bring pain to his body, he will surely curse you. Would Job really trust God even if his body hurt? The heavenly beings listened with interest because they wondered this too. God said to Satan, "Very well, he is in your hands, but do not take away his life." As soon as Satan was given permission, he attacked Job with a horrible illness. He made sure that Job's skin was covered in itchy, painful boils from the soles of his feet right up to his head. Job felt so terrible that he grabbed a piece from a broken clay pot to scratch himself, and he lay in ashes to show how sad he felt. But still he refused to curse God. Job's wife watched. She was heartbroken, and she was also angry. She blurted out to him, "Are you still trying not to sin? Why don't you just curse God and die?" She thought that if Job cursed God, then God would be angry and kill him, and then Job wouldn't suffer any more. But Job knew that God isn't like that. He said, "Why are you saying such foolish things? Are we only going to accept good things from God and not the bad things that happen? Of course, God only brings good things to us, and it is Satan who brings the bad things." As the heavenly beings watched, they were amazed. Job had just lost everything he owned and all his precious children, and now he was suffering a terrible illness, and he still trusted God and refused to sin. God had been right after all. It was possible for human beings to know God so well that they could trust Him even when tragedies happened to them. Do you choose to trust God too, even when bad things happen? Amen.